Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities, building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200. Rock Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Welcome to the Rock Solid Family Podcast. This is Merle Hutchinson along with my lovely wife, Linda. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm good, but I think I caught your disease.
My disease. That doesn't sound good. What's my disease?
Remember PFS? I think I have PFS.
You still?
Yes.
Haven't you been treated?
Recurring.
Isn't there an antibiotic
it's a flare-up. It keeps coming back. So
Parental fatigue syndrome.
Parenting fatigue
syndrome. So the kids are wearing us out.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Well, you know this as well as I, because the texts come to both of us. But it's funny how they alternate. Like they'll try you, then they'll try me. And so...
You know why they try you?
Because I'm the softie.
Because I don't respond.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today anyway?
Wait, so is it okay to ghost your kids?
Well, considering we're not using Snapchat or whatever.
Oh, is that what that's when
But they do see that we read it through the text and we
Yeah.
don't answer. So especially when it's in the middle of the school day.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're not going to have this conversation right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, what are we talking about?
Well, you know what? We have a great topic today. We really do. And the reason why we do, because we know it is your topic too. If you have kids, this is about 95% chance that this is a topic that happens in your house. It happens in ours, and that's probably why we are prompted to do this topic.
It is.
Okay, so you remember the old Aesop's fable? I think it was called "The Boy That Cried Wolf."
Yes, as a matter of fact, I remember buying that book when my kids were younger.
Yeah, and you remember what that fable was about?
Yes,
right?
I do.
So you got the shepherd boy who thinks it's funny as he's out with all of the sheep, and he's bored, and he needs some motivation or something to get him going. He needs a dopamine hit. I'm sure that's what he said. He goes, Lord, I need a dopamine hit.
Remember the old days, our dopamine hit used to be like we would do those ring and run. Like we'd ring somebody's doorbell.
I wouldn't.
You didn't do that?
No,
ring someone's doorbell and run?
I was home reading my scriptures.
Now there's ring cameras. So they could see exactly who did it.
Yeah,
or call like, oh, your refrigerator's running. You better go catch it. You know, like that would be the little dopamine hit we would do back then. But can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
People got color ID. And ring cameras.
Let's go back to the wolf.
I'm sorry. I'm digressing.
And so the little boy, he says, you know what, this will be funny. I will cry wolf. I'll yell wolf, wolf, wolf. And all of the elders will run from the community up to the hillside to protect, right? And so he yells once and they come out and he starts laughing and laughing. They're like, son, don't do that. You know, we thought something bad. And they all go back. Anyway, you know the story. He does it like 3 or 4 times. And finally, he yells, and the elders do not come to the rescue.
And there's a real wolf this time.
And there's a real wolf, a real wolf. And so the idea here, guys, is, you know, I don't know, we have kids who complain, and as parents, we don't want to like just kick them to the curb, but do they complain to the point where they're there is
wearing
something
you out.
because you come to find out that it's maybe not always legitimate, right? And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how we kind of help work through and get a system of understanding, well, is this a legit cry? If it is, how do I deal with that? If it's not, how can I curb this? How can I shut this down for my kid not doing it? And so, anyway.
Without breaking their spirit. That's really where we want to make sure that we find a healthy balance here.
Right. Well, and we're going to probably step on some psychologists' toes because I stepped on
and
your
parents'
toes. Well, because, there's all these never dismiss this, never shut a kid down. And I'm sorry, you don't dismiss a child. You don't look at a child and say you're of no value, but you can and you should dismiss bad things, bad ideas, sin. You love the sinner, but you hate the sin. And so we should dismiss these things. And so, the idea that I would never tell my kid no, or I would never dismiss what I know because I'm a few years older, I have a little nugget of wisdom, I would be able to say, that's probably not going to go well. I'm going to dismiss that idea. And if your child is identifying their worth by that idea, that's a whole nother cultural problem that we have, right? Like, you just dismissed me. You hate me. No, I told you couldn't go out with your friends tonight. Okay. And so we're going to work through that.
Okay. So anyway, before we do, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction and the Hoosier Ice House for their support of the conversation we're having today and what we do at Rock Solid Families and the Rock Solid Families podcast. So please, just if you know those folks, please let them know how much we appreciate their support and how much you do too.
Yeah. Let's start the conversation.
Okay.
With, we frequently go down this road that if you're even going to start to do the parenting thing well, that you and your spouse should wrap your head around the values of the family. Okay, the values, like how's this family going to operate? What's it going to stand for? What's it going to push back against? Right, and so this is one of these things where you're like, man, we never made a stand against this or for this. But let's start with a verse that brings us to mind. Okay. Yeah. This is Philippians 2 verse 14 and 15. It says, do all things without complaining and disrupting, that you may become blameless and harmless children of God. How would that be incorporated into the values of the family?
Yeah, but I want you to finish that verse because, in my version, I'm in the NIV, do everything without grumbling or arguing so that you can become blameless and pure children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. I think that is really important because we live in a world and a culture that is very warped and crooked. And so if we just go with the flow of what everybody in their class is doing or what our neighbors are doing, it is really easy to get into this victimhood and this complaining and grumbling. But man, I think about the Israelites coming out of Egypt, right?
Right.
And here they were in slavery for hundreds and hundreds of years. They come out and God has freed them and they're grumbling and they're like, it was better when we were in slavery and back in Egypt. And it's like, wow, that just kind of created this momentum that just took over the whole nation of Israel. And so that's what can happen in our kids, in our lives, in our family, in our homes if we don't nip this in the bud.
Right. Well, so the complaining is the action, right? The complaining is the action. And so sometimes the complaining is happening, but until you know the why, well, why are they complaining? If it's for something legitimate, then you could see where a complaint could be filed, right? But if it's for a warpedness, if it's for crookedness, if it's for selfish ambition of some sort, then we have to learn that and find that out. And then that's when it's disruptive, right?
Yeah.
So complaining in general, is not like bad. If it can be tagged to something.
And we've had that before. I mean, we would put shoes on our kids that, they haven't worn all season, maybe a dress shoe or a winter boot, and they put it on, they're crying, and then the more they walk, they're crying, and it's because their feet have grown two sizes before, the last time they wore it. And so there's sometimes legitimate reasons to be upset. Right. And we're hoping that our kids we can teach them the words to articulate why they're upset, what is wrong. But there's sometimes, hon, where you just get battered, over and over again with the same complaint and the whining, and you're
Right.
like, okay, what do we do about that? How do we handle that?
Yeah. Here's what's even more salt in the wound of the complaint, right? When you see them or hear them complaining, oh, my foot hurts, or, this
can't go
is
to
the worst
school today.
thing. And within the hour, you see them out running or laughing. And so, let's just call it, our kids have been guilty of this. I feel terrible. I think I'm sick. And the next thing you know, they get a call from a friend. Hey, can we go out and get some ice cream right now? And it's like, whoa,
boom,
whoa,
I'm feeling
whoa.
better.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You wanted to go home all day, but now, because there's plans after school, it doesn't sit well with us as educators.
And again, like, why are they doing that, right? And again, this is part of our parenting process. We can either, and we can dismiss it, but this is a great opportunity to teach them about some of the values that you have in your home. Like, no, we're not going to do this for selfish ambition.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't think of it that way, but as parents, it is our job to say, no, what's your motive here?
So, as we talk about how to deal with complaints of our children and them crying wolf, we just want to first lay out a few disclaimers and understanding. And the first one is that you've got to handle their complaints appropriately according to what season of parenting you're in. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back to and just Google Seasons of Parenting, Rock Solid Families podcast or Rock Solid Radio, and you will find those episodes that we laid out and we broke down what it looks like to be a parent in the first season of parenting or in the second season. And so we just want to remember the seasons, right?
Right, because how you respond to what we'll call the complaint is completely different. And so let's just talk about that very first season. That's the season of service. That's from the time of birth to between 2 and 3 years of age, where the child doesn't have any set language other than the cry or the grunt, right? And so they are very instinctively going to cry out when they need something, whether a diaper changed or needing food or they're tired or whatever. And so those cries most always means something. Now, the trick is you don't have a clue what they mean.
Exactly. So you change the diaper and you give them a bottle and then you lay them down. Maybe they're tired and then you're like, okay, I don't know what else to do. Right. That's frustrating.
But you don't dismiss it.
Right.
You check and verify. And what typically happens when you're raising that little one is you actually learn their language of their cries. You'll be able to, that's a cry when they have a dirty diaper. It's about that time. That's a cry for hunger. So you have to learn the language of the baby's cry. And so we're not going to dismiss it in that first season of parenting in the service season.
Yeah. And, we not too long ago, we've been seeing stories on the news of families, moms who have small children and they're leaving them for hours or days or unfed or unchanged or unheld. And just, it sickens me. So we are not talking, please, we're not talking about dismissing that.
Yeah. The second season is really where we're going to land hard today, because this is where the learning process on the kid's sake and the parent's sake really starts to grow. And so this is from ages 3 to 13, roughly, okay? And we would call this the leadership, because you are basically, you're modeling, but you're leading them into the way of how you want them to be when they finally graduate to live out of your house, okay? And so how you lead them through here, this is critical. We've said so many times before, however you want them to leave as a young adult out of your house, you better start implementing back in this season right here.
Starts now. So, for instance, isn't it ironic that every time you are at the grocery, that's when they're starving to death, and that's when they can't wait to get home. And so if you start answering that and responding to that in a way that, we'll just buy a snack or we will stop at McDonald's, or if you play into that, then you train them now. Like, if I whine and if I cry wolf and I'm always hungry, and then that's what I get. But if you let them know, hey, we're going to go to the store after dinner, so if you're hungry, you need to eat dinner because we are not getting a snack, and then you hold to that line. Right? And so you don't give in to the first whimper or cry or grumbling, because you're training them just to keep doing that.
Right. Yeah. So in the second season then, in this leadership season, in the first season, you didn't know their language because they couldn't actually use the words. And this second season, early on, especially 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, even older than that at times, the kids may know that there's a level of discomfort, but they may not even quite know what ails them, right? Or what the complaint is about, especially if it's one of these emotional things. And you get kids,
big emotions,
what's
right?
wrong? I don't know. You know? And
we had a child that did that before.
Part of your job in this second season is to start to attach some language to the emotion, the negative emotions especially, right? Like, are you angry? Are you sad? Are you tired? Okay? And so you got to help them with that, right? And as they start to practice that more, you ask them, you tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on, all right? Now, what you do with that means everything, and this is the stage that this is happening, okay? If your child says, I'm hungry, all right? And they're crying or whatever. No, I'm hungry, all right? This is where we start to teach them the problem solving and some of the logic behind it. Many parents, especially with the young, as soon as they're hungry, parents do what?
Feed them.
I'm going to feed you, right? But this is a time where I can start to teach them, okay, well, if you're hungry, you could go get something to eat, all right? And teach them the parameters of what that means. Are they allowed to go into the pantry? Are they allowed to have this? We just ate dinner 15 minutes ago. Oh, this is a learning time, guys. This is a learning time. And so this is where you're starting to set up the boundaries that you can't expect that your kid knows. Like, hon, how many times have we finished dinner and within 15 minutes, our kids have mentioned something about being hungry? Yeah. And there was very little eaten off of a plate. And one of our rules with food is you don't have to eat what's on your plate.
But you're not going to
get a snack if you're not going to eat your meal.
Yeah. And I see this with sports a lot, when you put your little boy in T-ball and you're thinking, oh, he's going to love it. He's going to love it. And day after day, week after week, he doesn't want to go to practice and he doesn't want to put his uniform on. And then you got to make a decision here. Like, is he mature enough to play this sport? Okay. But if he is, then you're going to practice, unless your leg's broken or you have a fever. But if you just let him I don't feel like it today. Okay. Then maybe he's not mature enough and ready for T-ball. And maybe you make a change after this season that maybe you wait another year or two. But please don't give in to every time he's tired or doesn't feel good or doesn't feel like going to practice, because you're just really giving in and you're not helping him build that resilience and what it takes to be a team and what it takes to push through tiredness. And again, it's different when they're 4 versus when they're 8. Okay. And so what are you smiling about? What?
So I'm going to push back.
Why?
You're telling me I should say to my kid, just suck it up. That's what you're saying.
But again, if he's 4 and you thought he would like T-ball and he's crying at every practice, I'm not going to look at a 4-year-old and go, suck it up. But if he's, if he just doesn't feel like it today, and that's what's happening. Right. Our parents are literally giving in to every feeling that child has.
That's right.
I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like going to school anymore. I don't want to go to practice. It just doesn't play well in the long run. But yes, in a way, yes, I am.
Well, and so you mentioned the point, and this is what we really want you guys to hear. When your kids start making decisions based off of emotional feeling, right, we have to be the one who really starts to be their filter. Yeah. Because emotions are real, right? And they actually come with quite a magnitude to the kid, but we cannot allow them to know that a feeling is what dictates how they're going to run through life. It doesn't mean a feeling is completely dismissed and thrown out the door, but this is where we teach our kids how to deal with the feeling. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And so you're going to start to see your kids coming through that second season. So they're going to get to be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And some kids are going to recognize, well, I kind of know what I need to do here. I probably should eat my meal so that I don't, and they're going to learn. Okay. Some are going to let the feelings override the logic. And that kid, if they're allowed, will become your chronic complainer.
And victim.
Yes. Well, which is, right, that is the start of us grooming the next victim of life, right? And so we have to recognize, And by the way, all kids are different, right? We could have 3 kids. We could have one kid that would never complain about anything. And you could have another kid in your house that complains about everything.
Yeah.
You've got to parent them differently because one's more emotionally driven and one's just more, facts or whatever. And they filter through that. Your job as a parent is to help them filter. Listen, if I had one kid who was never responding to emotion, I might have to teach him, hey, now's a good time to cry, right? But another kid, I might have to dial them back some.
Yeah, so I want to move into season 3, which is our teenage years, because as you're talking, hon, I'm just thinking of what's going on today with our teens. Our teens have been allowed to just sit in these big emotions of fear or anger or laziness. And so we're literally saying it's okay if you don't want to get your license till you're 20, or if you don't want to get a job, or if you don't want to leave home. And so we're literally perpetuating this victimhood and these feelings kind of running the show. And we are catering to those emotions, which means that at age 18, you're still driving your kid around, or you're still paying for all of their stuff they want. Like, there's got to start being some consequences, and you got to start it early. Like, well, that's fine if you don't want to go get your license, but I'm not driving you to your friend's house all the time.
Right.
So, like, you got to make a decision here and start to encourage the things that are needed to start seeing that independence.
We run into going to stick to the driving thing for just a second. We run into it very frequently these days. And I'm quick to say within a session, so what's keeping you back from your license? And I mean, if a kid legitimately has got a handicap of some sort, right?
Story.
Then let's wait and let's get all of that taken care of however we need to. But hon, the typical response, why are you holding off on your license, is, I don't know, I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
They literally will say, I don't feel like it. Right. And so it may seem so innocent, but this is one of those points where you as a parent are like, okay, well, that's a choice you might make, but it's not going to come at the expense of all the other people that have to carry you, because they have to learn to carry their load, and we learn to share loads when they need to be shared.
Right.
But we don't carry loads that don't need to be shared.
I think one of the biggest things we're seeing right now, and that this really came out of COVID especially, is the whole idea of, I don't feel like going to school.
Right.
I would rather be homeschooled, or I want to go online, or I want to stay home. And we are, as parents, just falling into this trap. And I'm just telling you, mom and dad, 9 times out of 10, that's a really bad idea. Yes, there are those exceptions where a child has intense social anxiety and they have some kind of diagnosable mental illness and they've got some physical ailment or whatever. But I'm just telling you that we are creating this culture where we just sit in the fear or the bullying or the laziness or the selfishness, and we're not helping our kids develop resilience and help them persevere through hard things. It's just, it's not sitting well.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, they are going to function in this world, and the world's not going to really care whether they don't feel like it. And again, we're not trying to totally dismiss all feelings. What we're trying to do is let them be a better filter of what's really going to keep them from doing what they need to do. It's part of survival, guys. At the end of the day, like, you've got to survive, and you've got to have some persistence and backbone to do that.
I would say one of the biggest wolves that is being cried is bullying, okay? And I know there's legitimate bullying going on, but I think that the kids know this buzzword, that this will get attention and this will get me what I want because I'm being bullied. And I just would push back on some parents and say, I want you to go further with that. I want you to pursue what that looks like and resolve that. Because, man, you're teaching your kids some important communication and conflict resolution skills. If you can help them, one, have language to speak directly to that child instead of you involving yourself. But if it's to the point where you're pulling your child out of school, please talk to the school and work with them to try to figure out and resolve it so they just don't keep running every time they hit a conflict.
Yeah. Do not run into a place that Linda and I are not speaking right now.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's okay to bully, and if your kid's getting bullied, just you suck it up, Buttercup, right? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is you, from a parental standpoint, give your kids the tools to work through that. And it may mean that you have to intercept a little bit of that. But, I've seen more than a few times where, a parent has helped, and then afterwards they've actually said, you know what, we're going to enroll you in some self-defense classes or some karate or some wrestling. And it's not to go beat somebody up. It's to give them that awareness and confidence to say, I can handle myself if I need to. And that right there is an empowerment tool that will serve well beyond those young years. It'll get them into later years.
And I see this with kids in sports all the time where they're not getting the playing time or they didn't get the position they wanted. And so then they're like taking their ball and going home. Like, I don't want to be a part of that team anymore. And it's the team's fault or the coach's fault. And I'm just saying, Mom and Dad, please, instead of just keep crying wolf and complaining and arguing about that, help them resolve that. Help them learn the skills to go back to that coach and to talk to that coach. Because I have a feeling sometimes that coach has a little bit more to say that maybe the student, the athlete doesn't really want to hear. Like, I see you sitting around all the time. I don't see you taking that extra swings in practice. Like, you're not doing the work that I'm looking for. And sometimes that's hard to hear, but it's important to hear.
At the end of the day, this whole crying wolf thing is about trust. It is about trust. And your kids do not understand the value of trust in a relationship. And so early on, we want them to know that, listen, we want to be here to help you. But if you are exploiting us, if you're exploiting the resource that we could be, then you're going to break the trust. And so it will come down, especially when our kids are starting to become chronic. Do not apologize for the checking and verifying that you need to do. And when they get upset and they will say, you just don't trust me, you have to say, well, we are trying to not allow this boy that cried wolf thing turn into something bigger. And so you need to know we are going to check and verify. When do you stop? I don't know. It depends. Like, we are still in the check and verify in our own home. And so, and it's a shame. It really is a shame. But that's how we are in our situation.
And part of it is taking ownership. Part of it is taking responsibility for yourself and the decisions you make. You can't say, oh, I'm too tired to go to school today, but you want to go to this thing after school. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way. If you're too tired to go to school, then you're too tired to go to this thing. And so they're like, well, I slept all day. Well, I'm sorry, like that doesn't work. So we've got to start having them show that they have to take responsibility and ownership of the decisions and the consequences and help them have language and some perseverance to push through hard things, because it is going to happen in life for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap it up. The idea here, guys, is, we're all going to have situations and times where we have that complaining. Maybe you as the adult, are dealing with another adult, or you yourself might be that complainer. You have to understand what it's doing to the relationships of other people. When you start to become the person that they dismiss because it's like, oh, there they go again, you're actually really undermining the relationship there or the trust that's there. And so you really want to teach your kids, remember those values that we run by, and trust is almost always in that value bank. And so remind your kids, this is what we need, guys, and this is what we're going to hold you to. And then after that, it's just a daily, this is how we live, this is how we practice.
Yeah, we're not trying to create a family of Navy SEALs. We're just saying we want to give our kids resilience, hard work, work ethic, trustworthiness. And so we want to help build that in our home so that when we let them go out into the society, they are successful, well-adjusted, independent adults.
Right. All right. So, guys, if we can help you in any way at Rock Solid Families, please reach out to us. You can go to our webpage at rocksolidfamilies.org. You can give the office a call at 812-576-7625. All right. We want to thank our sponsors. Let's thank our sponsors for helping us out. Let's thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and Hoosier Ice House for coming alongside of us and continuing to allow us to do. Hopefully this wasn't that much of a pushback topic today, but the idea that we're not saying dismiss your kids, but do dismiss some of the things they bring up.
Yeah. Don't don't perpetuate it. Don't
Yeah.
feed that fire. So again, if you're suffering from PFS and we can help you, parenting fatigue syndrome, call us. We would love to walk alongside you. So thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. Large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.